Welcome to this video that summarizes the purpose and context surrounding the Crystal Hunt game I made. One of the most important aspects of open worlds is autonomy. Rugby says optimum autonomy is not total freedom, but making the player feel like they want to do what they're already doing. This leaves open world developers with a problem. They need to guide players to objectives without affecting this autonomy, but forcing instructions upon the players breaks this feeling of free will. Nintendo faced this exact problem when making Breath of the Wild. Early test runs revealed players felt forced down linear paths. The fix to this was a visual guidance system, which encouraged the players to move to other locations of their choosing, but all eventually lead back to the original objective. Nintendo analysed the effectiveness of these guidance systems through the use of heat maps, which you can see here. A small amount of literature exists on guidance systems, with a chapter in Games and Rules by Rosetta being the primary source. This project aims to continue the discourse around guidance systems by finding new techniques to make emotional guidance systems more effective. As Rosetta notes, emotional guidance systems can be highly effective but can easily fail, which creates the research gap for this project. This project investigated the player guidance potential of psychoacoustic informed sound design. These sound techniques intend to invoke fear in order to repel the players away from zones that don't help them. Hopefully influences the emotions of the player, motivating them to leave, preserving their autonomy as it feels like their own decision. This project was initially inspired by the work of Mark Grimshaw, who introduced this idea of gaming being an acoustic ecology, providing the fundamental idea that soundscapes affect player actions. Grimshaw's multiple works on fear-evoking sound continued to be leading sources for this project. The main aim was to test whether 3 psychoacoustic informed sound design techniques introduced to the soundscape subtly can emotionally guide someone without breaking their autonomy. The main objective was to make a bespoke game with 2 versions, everything identical, bar one version has the fear-evoking strategies to repel. Another objective was to test this with 2 groups of people each playing one version of the game, and to collect their player location data for every second of a 10-minute plus playthrough in order to heat map it and analyse its effect. The game I made was called Crystal Hunt. The world started from a template level. From here I then sculpted a large forest and island area with a haunted house using various assets. The narrative in this game comes from a wizard. Let's take a look.
Evening, stranger. I'm Zaharis, a grand wizard who protects this city. Sorry for wasting your time, but could you help me? You see, we have ran out of magic crystals that power this city and protect us from the evil that looms. Could you try collect as many of these as possible? The more the better.
Here you can see a bird's eye view of the map. The star indicates the start and end positions. The blue hoops show where the crystals are. The red hoops show where the repelling systems are. And the yellow hoops show where the repelling systems are no longer present in version 2. Players don't know that there's 3 crystals and have to try and find as many as they can and bring them back to complete the game. Over the course of 10 minutes it gets darker, and when it's nighttime the player character reminds the player to head back. Let's see some of this in action. That's exactly what I need. I'll take that, thank you. A crystal, perfect. It's getting dark. I should probably head back.
You did it. Just look at that city glow.
For every playthrough, this system in the level blueprint gets the player location and writes it to a text file on the computer every second. Now I'll talk you through some of the fear-evoking techniques, showing some of the theory and how they were implemented. Firstly, low-frequency drones have the ability to evoke fear. This can be attributed to our inherent survival instinct, which associates these sounds with predators. It is suggested that rumbling below 50 Hz elicits this similar sense of danger. In the game, it's implemented into Zone B using an ambient sound actor. The attenuation settings are set across a broad range to create a gradual increase in volume. The spatialization is deliberately deactivated to remove its location and intensify this sense of fear. Let's hear this in game. This tree must have been poisoned. Distortion can be an effective way to create ambiguity to a sound and deform the once familiar, which creates a negative reaction. It also works to heighten our sense of attentiveness and puts an extra strain on our cognitive abilities. In the Unreal Engine, a distortion system was implemented using a player-driven blueprint. As the player approaches the center of Zone F, the distortion increases based on their proximity. A collision sphere detects the player's entry and activates the blueprint event tick. The event tick adjusts the bit crusher's sample rate, with values ranging from 30,000 Hz, which is minimal effect, to 12,000 Hz, its maximum effect. When the player exits the sphere, the event tick stops and the sample rate returns to a normal state. Let's hear this in-game. Lastly, there's sharpness. It is suggested that we associate high frequencies with human screams, so bringing out that tonal quality in sound can induce discomfort and therefore fear. The sharpness system in my game utilizes Fmod Studio and Unreal Engine. This blueprint includes an Fmod audio component and collision sphere. The audio component refers to the Fmod event, Zone Sharp, which contains an ambience loop. The Fmod event has a parameter called sharpness. When set to 1, it boosts frequencies between 1 and 5 kHz. The blueprint collision sphere covers Zone D. When a player overlaps it, it changes the sharpness parameter to 1. To achieve a gradual transition, the parameter seek speed in Fmod is set to 0.15 per second, meaning it takes 7 seconds to reach the new value. When the player leaves this zone, the parameter is set to 0 again. Let's see this in effect. To test the game, 16 participants were selected using purpose, convenience, and random sampling. This provided a sample base that was representative to the gamer population while also increasing the reliability and validity of the results. Participants were asked to rate their gaming frequency on the scale of 1 to 5, dividing them into 2 groups with equal experience for unbiased sample representation. Version 1 had a mean gaming frequency score of 4, and version 2 had a score of 3.5. To keep each player anonymous, they were all assigned a letter from A to P. Testing took place over 3 days in the Leeds Beckett School of Arts building. Each participant played one version of the game. All tests were conducted under the same conditions and using the same equipment. After completing the game, participants filled out a questionnaire with a 1 to 5 rating scale and with the option for additional comments. OBS Studio also recorded game captures, which is the footage that is being used in this video. Here are the contour plot averages of people who played versions 1 and 2. Overall, these highlight strong evidence that the system worked to repel and guide the players, with the low-frequency drone being the most effective. As you can see where the drone is present in version 1, significantly less time is spent here than version 2 players. This is supported when you look at the individual scatter graphs, showing direct routes through these zones from players, whereas version 2 players stuck around within this area for longer. We can comfortably attribute this to the drone, as version 1 players left comments like, "I felt unsettled in the forest and wanted to keep moving," and another saying they felt like they were going to be eaten, which confirms this idea that low-frequency drones imitate predators. The distortion showed the ability to also work when looking at the contour plots, but the sharpness system, although could work when looking at the contour plots, was the least conclusive. When you look at individual playthroughs, not many of the players actually went into this area, so all the results for sharpness are questionable, and the little time spent here may be down to map design and not the sound. Despite some flaws, the repelling system in version 1 encouraged players to explore more of the terrain overall. For example, all version 1 players visited the island, and almost half of version 2 players didn't. The questionnaire also found that the autonomy experienced by the participants was minimally affected, measured by their perceived sense of freedom and ability to explore. score. The version 1 group had an average score of 4.125, while version 2 scored 4.75, which shows a minimal decrease. It also found that version 1 players scored themselves slightly higher on their ability to find the crystals, as well as being actually better at finding the crystals overall. In summary, this project has clearly explored the effectiveness of psychoacoustic informed sound design to guide players. The findings indicate that these techniques, such as drones, can be particularly valuable in an emotional guidance system. The questionnaire data also demonstrated that this guidance method has the potential to enhance current models by maintaining player autonomy while improving player ability. This research adds to the limited discussion on guidance systems and expands our understanding of the relationship between game sounds and fear responses by examining behavioral reactions to fear-inducing stimuli. This project has left room for lots of future research. Thank you for watching.